hailing back from the days of Medarot Dual and just in time for 2025 and the year of the snake. It is MDS00 Snaqueen. With a kit of Rebirth, Perfect Guard, Hold, Multi-Legs, and the leg ability of Captor, which buffs the heat stat of all equipped parts if the incoming target cannot dodge or defend. Now, Snaqueen is a model that's actually been poking around every now and then in Medarot S up to this point, but for the year of the snake highlighting 2025 has been made officially available for players to pull and collect on. And if you're looking at a lot of her parts and wondering where have I seen this similar design before, you would be correct, because her twin, Prowl Viper, who's been in the game since day one launch, has been available in the game, like I said, since the beginning. So now the pair will be officially and finally be reunited at long last. Rebirth on the head part is a healing based skill that upon activation will allow Snaqueen to revive a fallen ally back on the field, rezzing all broken parts at 10% across the board. So while you certainly won't be starting with any notably high amount of HP or even any Metaforce charge on you, being alive but in immense amounts of pain is still far better than not being alive at all to have on the field. Plus, there are a handful of parts, such as, say, Revenge Sword or Revenge Claw or something similar, which give you a damage bonus if you're the closer you are to dying. So, perhaps with the right build, you probably could build this with a good Suicide Bomber and make good use of that pretty easily and relatively quickly. Perfect Guard on the right arm, and the first ever instance of this not only on female teams but also as a non-collab type skill and location, is basically a defense type skill that will nullify all incoming damage to 0. Doesn't matter if it is a shooting skill or a melee skill, does not matter. It is nullified and negated to 0 damage for 2 charges, as long as Snaqueen remains on the line. Of course, this also does come with its drawbacks and weaknesses though. Given that it is a non-meta change type shield, it does mean that it is susceptible to anyone using, say, Destroy, Terminate, Disaster, or canceling it with, say, Slip or something, or Panic or something similar. It can be very easily curbed and circumvented, but for about 80% of the use that it have on the field, it is still a truly invaluable source you can find and make good use of basically anywhere. And with it being as an arm, means you'll have indefinite uses of it as well, granted as long as the part doesn't get broken. Hold on the left arm, and the only actual combat skill that Snaqueen brings to the field, is an ailment type skill that upon attacking the target will prevent them from being able to dodge, I believe, but also give them a 25% debuff to their heat pool. So this means that while they will be going notably slower, it is also going to be a lot easier for you to land solid hits as well, as long as that ailment remains in effect. The only real drawback, though, is the fact that since it is considered a negative ailment, it does mean that it can be removed or even negated by anyone that is using Stat Cleanse, either as a leg ability or as an actual skill being activated. So some minor advice and some caution is advised on that front. Multi-legs means that Snaqueen will have relatively solid mobility across most terrains, and trading most of her mobility overall for terrain compatibility is kind of par for the course when it comes to multi-ped legs, but Snaqueen isn't necessarily in that same kind of bracket. With a base mobility of 883, she's honestly off to a very solid start in the speed department, and an evade of 1134 also is equally as nice, as it means she can dodge her graze fairly consistently as long as the enemy doesn't have anything such as, say, like radar sight or shoot boost or something similar that gives them a boost to their likelihood of hitting. A melee resist of 1675 is really nice, as it means she can most certainly handle hits up close and personal fairly well, but a shoot resist of 678 is definitely not all that great though, as it does mean that she is going to be taking some notably higher punish damage for anyone that is dealing any kind of long-range combat. Mid shot, max shot, rifle, hyper beam, anything like that is going to most certainly take this snake type down very, very quickly. In the armor department, she's actually not too shabby either, with a head armor of 4019 and a right arm also at 4019. Left arm at 3179 and legs at just shy of 3900. She's fairly healthy as far as female types tend to be concerned, but with relatively mixed resistance stats between melee and shooting, it is going to be kind of up in the air based on if that HP will be able to keep her from things getting broken. All this being said, though, as a pure set score, I honestly still have to rate Snaqueen a pretty middle-of-the-road 6.5 out of 10. While she's certainly no DPS or nuker type, and focusing more on utility than anything else, what she does do in utility, even if it is niche, actually can be put to incredible use in the right scenarios. For the most part, you probably will be focusing on using Perfect Guard the entire time that Snaqueen is on the field. But if you do find yourself in need of combat, you can use Hold pretty solidly with no real drawback there. Plus, if you do manage to snag somebody with the negative ailment, that does mean that she does get a boost to her heat stat as long as the ailment remains in effect. So she does kind of synergize with herself there fairly easily. And with the ability of Rebirth, does give her the opportunity to res fallen allies, so if perhaps you got clipped too soon and never had a chance to see your strategy all the way through, Snaqueen, if used right, does give you the opportunity to kind of replay it and try again now that you know what to do next time. As mixed parts, though, I do have to rate her I have to rate her notably higher at an 8 out of 10. Primarily for the reason that while Hold may not be something you use super often, if really at all, and her legs, even with nice stats, are pretty squishy with that shoot resist and the leg ability, which is kind of specific to enemies being unable to dodge or defend, the Rebirth head and the Perfect Guard armor are probably going to be the only two reasons people are going to pull for her at all. But those are still going to be two very solid reasons all the same, though, as the ability to res fallen allies and the ability to nullify nearly all hits down to 0, minus some exceptions, is going to be really hard to argue with in any real capacity.